There is a storm in each of us, a storm that rages through our thoughts, rolls off our lips, and bleeds into the choices we make. And yet, in that storm lies a sacred power. Control your mouth, and you'll no longer have to apologize for truths you didn't mean. Control your mood, and you won't live as a puppet on the strings of other people's chaos. Control your money, and you'll never beg freedom from someone who bought your silence. Control your mind. Oh, when you control your mind, you walk into rooms no fear can follow you into. Now, I don't offer empty poetry today. I offer you survival, because until you master you, the world will master you. And if you stay with me just a few more moments, I will show you how to take the wheel back with grace, with grit, and with quiet fire. The tongue is small, yet it can shape the course of a life. It carries no bone, but it can break a soul. With a single sentence, you can ruin a reputation, ignite a war, or sow doubt in a heart that once bloomed with joy. And with another, you can mend wounds, build bridges, or breathe hope into a spirit too tired to keep going. Your mouth is a sacred instrument. It is the drum of your soul, the trumpet of your beliefs, the flute of your wisdom. What you say and what you don't reveals who you are more than your clothes, your titles, or your degrees ever could. Too many walk this world flinging words like broken glass, unaware of the blood left in their wake. We mistake cruelty for clarity. We speak without thinking, defend without listening, and joke without conscience. And then we wonder why our relationships feel like battlefields and not homes. But a wise one, oh, a wise one, knows when to speak, when to pause, and when to say nothing at all. Not because they are afraid, but because they understand that not every truth needs a tongue, and not every silence is empty. There is power in restraint. There is peace in thoughtful speech. When you control your mouth, you do more than avoid trouble. You become a safe place. You become the voice someone longs to hear after a long day. You become the one who calms storms, not the one who creates them. You become medicine in a world addicted to noise and sharpness. And hear me when I say this. Controlling your mouth does not mean you shrink. It does not mean you bite your tongue while injustice roams free. No. It means you choose your words like a sculptor chooses their tools. You speak with purpose, not impulse. You speak not just to be heard, but to be felt in the marrow, in the heart, in the places where real change begins. You must ask yourself, do your words build or destroy? Do they fan the flames or do they quench the fires? Do you speak out of ego or do you speak from a well of grace? Let your words be gentle, even when they are firm. Let them be clear, even when they are deep. Let them carry truth, but never without compassion. For what you say, once spoken, cannot be unsaid. It becomes part of the air someone else breathes. So before your mouth opens, check your heart. If it's not grounded in love, in justice, in humility, pause. Because to control your mouth is not to silence your voice, it is to honor it. Let your voice be a light, not a fire. Let it be the reason someone heals, not the reason they hurt. Let it be the kind of power that uplifts and never, ever destroys. There will be days when the world feels like it is testing every ounce of your patience. A sharp word from a stranger, a delay in your plans, a betrayal from someone you trusted, and suddenly your heart beats faster, your voice climbs louder, and your peace feels like it's hanging on by a thread. And in that moment, it is easy to believe that you have to react, that your anger must speak, your sadness must show, your frustration must be known. But that moment, that precise second of pressure, is the place where your strength is revealed, not in how hard you hit back, not in how loud you shout, not in how quickly you can make someone feel what you feel. Your true strength is in the stillness before the storm. When you control your mood, you are not pretending that pain doesn't exist. You are choosing not to let that pain lead you. You are refusing to let temporary emotions build permanent damage. Anyone can react. That's easy. That's natural. But it takes power, real, soul-deep power, to pause, to breathe, and to choose your response with wisdom. You must understand, emotional maturity is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. It is knowing what you feel, allowing yourself to feel it fully, and then deciding what action honors both your spirit and the situation. It is owning your energy, not dumping it onto others like a burden too heavy to carry alone. Let me tell you, people will test you. Life will hand you moments designed to provoke you. And if you don't have discipline over your emotional self, you will find yourself constantly at the mercy of other people's moods. Your day ruined by someone else's rudeness. Your peace stolen by a stranger's opinion. Your joy punctured by the unpredictable winds of this world. But when you master your mood, when you learn that you can feel everything and still remain rooted, you become unshakable. You don't chase drama. You don't need to be right in every conversation. You don't collapse under criticism, and you don't explode at inconvenience. You start to respond with clarity, not chaos. You stop allowing other people to drag you into their storms because you have built your own sky, vast, calm, and untouchable. Emotional maturity means you've stopped giving your power away. You don't allow someone's bad attitude to dictate your tone. You don't become the anger you receive. You let it pass through you like wind through an open window. Felt, noticed, but not held on to. You begin to guard your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Do not confuse calmness with weakness. The one who controls their mood is not the one without feelings. They are the one who has wrestled their emotions into alignment with their highest self. They are the one who could speak with fury but chooses grace. The one who could act in revenge but chooses restraint. The one who could curse the darkness but lights a candle instead. Controlling your mood doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend they don't exist. No, it means you respect your emotions enough not to let them ruin your life. You allow them to teach you, not rule you. You become emotionally literate, able to name what you feel, understand why you feel it, and then decide how to move forward. You do not have to react to everything. You do not have to join every argument, attend every conflict, or match every tone. Sometimes the greatest response is no response. Sometimes dignity is louder than rage. Sometimes silence is sharper than shouting. You begin to ask yourself, does this emotion serve me? Will this reaction help or harm? Am I being led by wisdom or woundedness? And slowly, the world shifts. People can still hurt you, but they can't move you without your permission. Circumstances can still change, but they don't drag your spirit with them. You start to notice that you are no longer apologizing for how you handled things. No longer replaying conversations where you lost control. No longer wondering why your relationships feel like minefields. Instead, you walk with calm, with clarity, with courage. It is not about being emotionless. It is about being emotionally sovereign. Because when you control your mood, you show the world, and more importantly, yourself, that you are not just reacting to life. You are leading it. Money is not evil. It is not a curse. And it is not a blessing either. It is a tool, a mirror, a test. It reveals what you value, who you serve, and how much of yourself you've really claimed. To control your money is not just to manage dollars and cents. It is to govern your life with intention. It is to walk in discipline when the world tells you to consume without thinking, to spend without planning, and to measure your worth by what you wear or drive or flash. Too many people carry shame around money like a secret sickness. They never learned how to treat it, so they fear it or chase it or waste it. They say they're broke, but what they really are is unrooted, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. because money is rarely just about money. It is about choices. And when you don't own your choices, you find yourself asking life to bail you out of decisions you never took the time to understand. You see, money doesn't respond to hustle alone. It responds to wisdom, and wisdom starts with honesty. You must be honest about where your money goes. You must be honest about the habits that drain it, the people who expect you to save them, the holes in your spirit you try to fill by swiping a card or buying what you don't need to impress people who don't care. You must understand this. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of life you want. Every purchase, every plan, every pause, it adds up. If you spend recklessly, you live reactively. If you budget with clarity, you move with freedom. And freedom is not found in a paycheck. It's found in discipline. We often inherit patterns before we understand money. Maybe you were raised in lack, so now you hold it too tight, afraid it'll vanish. Or maybe you saw money used to control, to dominate, so now you reject the idea of structure. Maybe you were taught that talking about money was shameful, so you live in silence, even when drowning in debt. But hear me, silence is not strength. Ignorance is not peace. To control your money, you must first reclaim your voice. Learn how it works. Understand interest, debt, investing, saving. Don't be seduced by luxury if it comes at the price of your stability. Don't be fooled by the illusion of wealth on display. For some of the loudest lives are the most indebted ones. True wealth whispers. It doesn't scream. When you take charge of your money, you take charge of your future. You stop waiting for rescue. You stop blaming others. You stop looking at life like a bill you can't afford. And you begin to live within your means, not because you lack vision, but because you respect your journey. You learn to say no to things, to people, to pressures, not out of fear, but out of purpose. You begin to set goals that align with who you are, not who the world says you should be. You save not just for emergencies, but for peace. You invest not just for wealth, but for legacy. And you spend with joy because you know where your money is going and why. Financial control is not about being rich. It's about being responsible. It's about knowing that you can buy the shoes, but you don't need to buy 10 pairs to feel worthy. It's about understanding that you can love nice things, but not need them to define you. That you can bless others, but not bankrupt yourself doing it. That you can be generous and still have boundaries. And maybe the most important truth of all, money is energy, and energy needs a channel. If you waste it, it runs wild. If you honor it, it flows. So no, don't just chase money. Understand it, guide it, respect it. Let it work for you, not rule you. When you own your money, you no longer fear what you owe because you've built something stronger than credit. You've built character, and character pays what cash never could. Master your money, and you won't need to beg for freedom. You'll already own it. Quietly, steadily, fully. The mind is a magnificent servant, but a dangerous master. It speaks in whispers and shouts, in memory and imagination, in fear dressed as logic and hope dressed as silence. It will tell you stories, some true, some twisted, some handed down through generations that never questioned them. And if you're not careful, you will believe every word it says. You will mistake its noise for your identity, its panic for your path, its confusion for your calling. But let me tell you now, you are not every thought you think. Just because the thought came doesn't mean it deserves a seat at your table. Just because it visited doesn't mean it belongs in your home. The mind is a place where dreams begin, yes, but it's also where doubts grow like weeds if left untended. It will hand you 1,000 what ifs, 1,000 not enoughs, 1,000 never will be's, but those aren't prophecies, they're echoes, echoes of past pain, echoes of someone else's fears, echoes of a world that profits from your insecurity. And so you must stand guard, not with fists, but with awareness, with stillness, with grace. You must learn to hear your thoughts without becoming them, to see them without obeying them, to question them without fearing them. Ask yourself, who told me that I couldn't? Who convinced me that I wasn't enough? Who planted the idea that I must suffer to be worthy, must shrink to be loved, must succeed to be seen? Sometimes it wasn't a person. Sometimes it was an experience. A moment when life broke something in you that was too young to name, and now the mind holds it like a rule book. But just because the mind remembers pain doesn't mean it has to repeat it. You have the power to retrain your mind, to speak back to it, to rewire the pathways that were built in survival mode and walk instead in wisdom. And no, it won't be easy. The mind resists change. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is suffering. But you were not born to live trapped in your own head. You were born to lead it. You see, thoughts come and go, but the one who watches them, that's who you really are. The observer, the stillness behind the storm, the calm behind the chaos. That's the self no thought can define. And when you begin to identify with that part of you, the quiet, knowing part, then thoughts lose their grip. They pass like clouds. They float by like dust. And you stand taller, clearer, freer. There is no shame in having dark thoughts. The shame is in believing that they are the whole of you, that the fear is final, that the doubt is destiny, that the past is the prophecy. No, my love, you are not broken. You are just becoming, and the mind is catching up. Feed your mind the way you feed your body. Don't let it starve on negativity, on drama, on comparison. Nourish it with truth, with stillness, with silence. Let your thoughts rest. Let them stretch. Let them breathe. Not every problem must be solved in your head. Some things dissolve when you put them down, and learn the art of focus, because your mind will chase everything shiny, everything loud, everything urgent. But you must choose where to place your attention. Attention is power. What you focus on grows. If you feed fear, it multiplies. If you feed peace, it deepens. If you feed gratitude, joy will not be far behind. And understand this, the mind will always offer worst-case scenarios. That's its nature. It's trying to protect you. But protection and imprisonment are not the same thing. A life lived only by the logic of fear is a life half-lived. So thank your mind for trying to keep you safe, but remind it with love that you are in charge now. Your thoughts will not always be kind, but you can be kind to yourself anyway. Your thoughts will not always be clear, but you can move forward anyway. Your thoughts will sometimes say, "You can't," but your soul will whisper, "Watch me." And that voice, that soul voice, is the one you must learn to trust above all, because the mind is loud, but the truth is quiet. And if you learn to be still enough, quiet enough, brave enough to hear it, you will begin to live not as a prisoner of your thoughts, but as the author of them. You are not every thought you think. You are the one who decides which ones to keep, which ones to challenge, and which ones to let go. And that is what freedom truly is. There is something noble, something regal about a person who knows how to govern themselves. A person who does not need to be watched to do right, who does not need applause to keep going, who does not need revenge to feel victorious. That person walks differently. They speak with intention. They do not follow every impulse. They do not spill themselves everywhere just to feel alive, because they understand one quiet truth: self-control is self-respect. To control yourself is not to cage yourself. It is not to shrink or to suffer or to deny your full humanity. It is to honor yourself so deeply that you refuse to be ruled by anything less than your highest wisdom. It is to be free, not from responsibility, but from recklessness, not from effort, but from regret. When you lack self-control, you hand your life over to whatever feeling shows up first. Anger becomes your voice. Desire becomes your decision maker. Distraction becomes your God. And little by little, you trade your peace for short-term pleasure. You trade your dignity for validation. You trade your future for a feeling that won't last the hour. But the person who respects themselves says, no, I am worth more than that. I am worth more than what is easy. I am worth more than what is cheap. I am worth more than what feeds me today, but robs me tomorrow. Self-control is not something you're born with. It's something you build slowly, quietly, in moments when no one sees you. It's in the pause before the reaction, the silence before the comeback, the breath before the indulgence. It's in the decision to walk away when your ego wants to stay. It's in the moment you choose patience instead of impulse, boundaries instead of chaos, commitment instead of comfort. The world will test you. Your past will tempt you. Your mind will try to convince you that discipline is denial, but it is not. It is devotion. It is declaring that your life, your energy, your spirit are too sacred to be wasted on things that drain you, break you, confuse you. You do not belong to your anger. You do not belong to your cravings. You do not belong to your past habits or your worst days. You belong to the part of you that knows better, even when it feels hard. And make no mistake, it will feel hard. Every act of self-control is an act of war against the weaker parts of yourself. But that war, it's worth it, because every time you say no to what pulls you down, you say yes to what lifts you up. People confuse freedom with doing whatever they want, but true freedom, the kind that lasts, comes from discipline, from knowing that you can feel a thing without obeying it, that you can be tempted without surrendering, that you can want something and still walk away because it costs too much of your soul. When you live with self-control, you walk through the world with peace. Not because everything is easy, but because you are steady. You know who you are, you know what you stand for, and so no matter what chaos swirls around you, you do not crumble. You choose, you pause, you protect your peace like a crown. You begin to speak less and listen more. You begin to plan more and panic less. You stop reacting to everything like it's personal. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing, proving, pleasing, because you have found something deeper inside yourself, direction. That is self-respect, not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that commands it. The kind that holds you upright when life pushes you sideways. The kind that doesn't need validation because you've already been validated by the choices you made when no one was watching. You owe it to yourself to be someone you can trust, to become your own sanctuary, to be the one you can count on, even when everything else fails. That is what self-control builds, not perfection, not rigidity, but integrity. And when you walk in integrity, your path becomes clearer. Your life begins to align. So don't just chase outcomes, build habits. Don't just pray for change, practice it. Don't just dream of a better life. Live like someone who deserves it, not someday, but now, because you do. And when you honor yourself through discipline, you remind the world, and more importantly, you remind you that your life is worth protecting, that your peace is worth preserving, that your power lies not in how loudly you speak or how fast you move, but in how firmly you stand. You don't need to control the world, you just need to master yourself. And that right there is where greatness begins. People speak of freedom as if it's a door someone else must open, as if it's something to be given, something to be granted by a title, a job, a person, a government, or a lucky break. But freedom, the real kind, the kind that no one can take and no moment can steal, that kind of freedom is born the moment you choose to lead yourself. You cannot be free if you do not know how to follow your own direction. You cannot be free if your choices are dictated by pressure, by fear, by habit, or by the loudest voice in the room. And you certainly cannot be free if you have not yet decided who you are and what you will stand for when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one is coming to save you. The person who is waiting for someone to rescue them will always be waiting. But the person who rises and says, I will guide myself, I will choose for myself, I will take responsibility for my path, that person unlocks something deeper than independence. They unlock authority over their own spirit. You see, leadership is not just for those who hold a title. Leadership begins in the quiet moments of decision. It begins when you hold yourself accountable, when you don't blame your upbringing, your wounds, or your circumstances for every turn in the road. It begins when you stop looking outward for permission and start building inward with discipline. To lead yourself is to look in the mirror and say, I will no longer be at war with who I am. I will no longer be dragged by my emotions, my weaknesses, or the stories that no longer serve me. I will chart this path, and I will walk it with integrity. You don't have to have it all figured out to lead yourself. You just need to listen to that still voice inside that says, you were made for more than surviving. You were made to live with intention, to speak with clarity, to walk with purpose. You were made to rise, not just once, but over and over again, every time you fall into doubt, into old patterns, into the comfort that keeps you small. Freedom isn't found in doing whatever you want. It's found in doing what aligns with your deepest truth, even when it's difficult. It's found in turning down the noise and tuning into your own rhythm. It's found in making decisions that don't just feel good today, but will feel right years from now. When you lead yourself, you stop looking for someone to set the tone for your life. You become the one who sets it. You become the one who says, this is what I accept. This is what I expect. This is how I show up, no matter who else does or doesn't. You learn how to regulate your own emotions, not because you're cold, but because you're wise enough to know that not every storm deserves your thunder. You learn how to delay gratification, not because you don't want joy, but because you want lasting joy. Not the kind that fades, but the kind that builds something. You learn how to say no, not just to others, but to your own impulses, to your own distractions, to your own fear, and you learn how to say yes to growth, to peace, to responsibility, to becoming someone who can be trusted with their own future. Freedom doesn't mean the absence of boundaries. It means choosing the ones that serve your becoming. It means knowing what to protect, what to pursue, and what to walk away from, even when it's hard. When you lead yourself, you stop waiting for external change and start creating internal transformation. You stop waiting for life to be easier and begin becoming stronger. You stop chasing applause and begin chasing alignment. And with every small choice, every early morning, every quiet no, every honest reflection, you begin to build a foundation of freedom so rooted that no storm can shake it. The truth is, no one can walk your path for you. No one can do your healing. No one can force you to grow. That is your sacred work. And when you begin to embrace that work, when you begin to take the reins of your own mind, your own habits, your own spirit, then freedom becomes more than a dream. It becomes your daily reality. Freedom is not just a destination, it's a posture, it's a way of living, and it begins not with controlling the world around you, but with leading the world within you, because once you lead yourself, no one can ever lead you astray again. So here's the truth, my dear one. You are not here to be ruled by impulses, silenced by fear, or enslaved by doubt. You are here to rise, to govern your spirit with honor, to choose your words with love, to spend your life like it matters because it does. Master yourself and watch how the world changes without the world changing at all.